Chapter 28-the-jungle-phase.
Hinduism is practiced by about 85% of 1.25 billion people in India. If you are not a Hindu, it will be hard for you to understand why it is so popular. It has no scriptures, creeds, or prophets. It does not require congregational worship, visiting temples, and following any specific rituals. You are free to believe in anything, anybody, and anywhere. In traditional Indian Hindu society, there is a social order of caste hierarchy known as the Indian caste system. According to the caste system, people are divided into 4 classes, or varnas. The highest ranking class of the caste system was the Brahmins, the highly educated class consisting of priests, scholars, and teachers. The lowest class was the Shudras, the lower economic class consisting of uneducated people derogatorily referred to as the untouchables, who historically experienced hideous amounts of discrimination. In between these 2 classes were the Kshatriyas, the warriors and rulers, and the Vaishyas, the merchants. My family, the Vaidya family, is a Brahman family. This means that from a traditional standpoint, we have the highest status of Indian social order. Growing up in Brahmin family, spirituality and education were essential parts of our upbringing. I was taught to believe in 4 key phases of life pursuant to the Hindu ashram system, which promotes guiding principles for how to live your life. These 4 key phases are as follows. Number 1, Brahmacharya, education and celibacy stage, ages 14 through 25. The first phase starts before the age of puberty. It refers to an educational period between ages of 14 and 20 years and is characterized by the strict practice of self-imposed celibacy. Upon arrival in USA at the age of 19, I kept my end of the bargain on the education side by going to school and achieving. But the celibacy part of this phase needs to be reviewed by the powers that be. I'm going to request such a harsh requirement be relaxed considering these modern times. Number 2, Grihastha, family life, ages 25 to 62. During the second phase of life, a man is expected to get married, produce children, and carry the duties of maintaining a household and leading a family-centric life. Been there, done that. Phases 1 and 2, however, did not apply to women. Females were considered liabilities at birth and were married as soon as possible. When my parents got married, my mother was 14 years old and my father was 21. Such an age difference between wife and husband was not uncommon in India at that time. If this disturbs you, you may find it interesting to know that 13-year-old Mohandas Mahatma Gandhi was married to 14-year-old Kasturba Makhanji in an arranged marriage. Number 3, Vanaprastha, gradual withdrawal from the world, ages 62 through 75. A Vanaprastha is a person who's living in the jungle after partially giving up material desires. When a householder gets older, his skin becomes wrinkled, his hair turns gray, and he starts having grandchildren. The time is said to have come to him to enter the 3rd stage of life, or Vanaprastha. I call this jungle phase. It is said that he should now disengage himself from all family ties except that his wife may accompany him if she chooses, although maintaining total celibacy. Seems to me Hindus were stuck on celibacy. Retire to jungle and worship the higher power. Number 4, sannyasa, dispassion and divine inspection, ages 75 and up. People in this final stage of the ashram system develop a state of serenity and detachment from material life, abandoning sophisticated thoughts and desires in order to spend the remainder of their lives in spiritual contemplation. My father celebrated 75th birthday during his 6th and final visit to the United States. It was a beautiful breezy summer evening, and we just finished celebrating his birthday with cake and ice cream. Before he started opening his gifts, my father started telling stories about his life. My wife asked him about his childhood, his family, where he grew up, and the conditions growing up. Papa's dad was a school teacher in a small town. His mother could not read or write. At the age of 12, he was taken to a neighboring town on a camel cart and dropped off at his aunt's house to go to school. There were no schools in the town beyond the 5th grade where he lived. They were all poor, and he was in somebody else's home. One evening, he got hungry and nobody was home. Thinking nothing of it, he went into the kitchen and ate a couple of leftover rotalis. When his aunt came home, she was really upset because she said she was saving it for her own child. She accused him of stealing food. His pride was hurt. My dad felt very lonely and helpless. While he was telling this story, he started sobbing. My wife was sorry that she asked that question. My dad got his composure back in a few minutes. We all took a note of his sadness. I told my dad that it was quite a moving story. It touched our hearts. It reminded me of a story of 2 monks, so I told him the story. 2 monks were on their journey. When they arrived at a river they had to cross, they witnessed a beautiful young woman at the edge of the river, hesitating and afraid of drowning. She asked their help to take her across the river. The junior monk walked right by her without saying a word. But the elder monk stopped and spoke with her. Then he picked her up and carried her across the river. Their journey resumed, and they walked side by side in silence. At reaching their destination, the elder monk asked what was wrong. "How dare you pick up that woman up, having taken the vow not to touch a woman?" said the junior monk with a skepticism barbed with righteous censure. The elder monk answered, "I left that woman by the river's edge at sunrise, and it is sunset now, and you are still carrying her." Look at this way, Dad. It happened 63 years ago. Your aunt is long gone, and you are still carrying her. 2 years later, in 1992, my father passed away at the age of 78. Upon his passing, I visited India for the first time since 1970. In 1994, my mother visited the United States. This was the only time she visited without my father. It was also her last trip to the U.S. She died 4 months later. I feel very fortunate to have had opportunity to speak with 2 role models while they were in their jungle phases, my father and my maternal grandfather, both true wise men with accomplishments in their own right. Now it's my turn to be in the jungle phase. Going back to that first solitary night in Wadsworth Hall at Michigan Tech, I had created my own complex inner world of self-doubt, angst, and sadness. Throughout my career, I have often wondered if I was good enough. I more than often worried about losing my job. I routinely felt sad when I thought about my beloved family members I left back home in India. I repeatedly experienced severe cases of relative deprivation. A relative deprivation is when you want something that somebody else has. You feel jealous and deprived. You agonize over the idea that someone else has something you want more. That feeling with you that says, why does that jackass over there have that when I clearly deserve it the most? It is universal. We all have these feelings. While you cannot eliminate these common human feelings, I believe you can manage them by applying available tools. They are embedded in the stories told in this book for you to discover. You may have to read them more than once. If nothing else, my hope is that you have learned the following 4 key points. 1. You cannot step in the same river twice. The idea, I should have done this, I could have done that, is inherently useless. The way to respond is, I did what I knew how to do. When I knew better, I did better. Derived from famous quote, I did then what I knew how to do. Now that I know better, I do better. Maya Angelou. 2. When student is ready, the teacher arrives. Have you wondered why some people do not ever learn? Because it is not the caution, it is the defeat that does the trick. Often I knew what to do, but I just wouldn't do it. When the pain of consequences became intolerable, I got inspired and found help. 3. Nothing is more useless to do something efficiently that ought not to be done at all. There are people in this world who take care of themselves, and there are people who expect others to take care of them. We all know that we cannot change others. I tried to change my spouse, my children, my subordinates, my bosses, and my family members. Almost everyone I have had finally realized it just doesn't work. 4. What is your legacy? In year 1990, while working on corporate vision, mission, and guiding principles at work, I decided to create my legacy that I wanted to leave for my children. I put it in a frame and hung it in the kitchen for them to see it every day. Vaidya legacy. 1. Deserve and desire. 2. Self-sufficient, independent, and highly educated. 3. Family bonds for life. 4. Healthy at home and away. 5. Learn each day. 6. Have sense of humor. 7. Seize the moment. I believe my wife and I were the catalyst in the success of our children.